Good morning and welcome back. It is now August 19th and has the potential to be a beautiful week. I think we're going to see some really nice high temperatures this week and hopefully get some decent harvesting done after the bit of rain that we had there on Friday. So let's take a look and see what we're finding in the fields. This field of canola was one that was way over threshold last week, so it has since been sprayed, and when you look in the net here, no bugs left, just a couple flea beetles, so our lygus problem is fixed. And just in time too, because we are starting to ripen in here, although you can see large portions of the field here are still dead green, but some spots like this higher spot here are starting to show a little bit of maturity. Lots of barley has been combined, but many fields like this one are still standing. I just ran the mini combine through here, did a moisture sample here. We're about 16.3%. So we're a bit tough in here yet, but give it a few hours of sun and maybe this afternoon it'll be ready to go. It was a little bit dewy overnight. Much less visible green in my wheat plots this week. I think I'll probably be starting to do some harvesting on some of these plots here this week potentially. So I just ran the mini combine through the surrounding crop. You can see there's really not much for green in here anymore, so let's run a moisture on it. We'll see how she looks. Well, either my moisture tester is being really stubborn or this moisture level of this wheat is actually below detectable limits. And it certainly could be. It does feel really dry. You can see we got quite a few shriveled kernels in here because of our drought conditions. So it very possibly is ready to go. Well, the corn is all looking pretty good this week. It is, for the most part, the fields that just started tasseling last week. There's been significant fertilization and silking that has happened already. So like this one here will have already been basically fully, or as good as fertilized all the way through. So you can see right now she's still pretty long and skinny because it hasn't really started to fill out. It is just beginning blister stage, so you can just start to see a little bit of swelling on these kernels here. They're probably going to significantly fill out in the next week, and we can't really tell too much here on the tip as to how much has been fertilized or yet at this time, but yeah, things are looking good in here. Now the important thing this stage of corn, keep the water on it. This is going to be the highest water use period of the year as these begin to fill out. This safflower field is looking much the same as it was last week. I was curious as to whether the rain and the showers we had in the last 2 weeks would cause any additional regrowth or let these green up a little bit, but it appears that moisture was just far too little too late. So a lot of this now has finished flowering and we are in development here now. So these guys are going to be filling and trying to set seed as well as they can. And probably in the next couple weeks, we'll start to see a bit of ripening. Lots of wheat fields are beginning to come off, but many are like this one and still have some, relatively green, soft areas in some of these low bowls. Like right here, you can see we're still basically in, soft to hard dough, some of these plants here. So lots of these areas, you gotta, swath around or harvest around and, probably wait at least another week for some of these areas to come along. Sorghum is coming along not too bad this week. It did get a little bit of rain on it last week in this area. You can see a couple of them here. We got heads just starting to barely push out. Most of them are still a little ways away, but yeah, it should look real interesting in here in a week or two when all these heads come out. Some of these lentils that were beginning to ripen up, we now have a little bit of a problem since we had some rain on them last week. These drought affected lentils are trying to flower again. So we were really getting close to desiccation timing. So now we're just going to have to go ahead and do it in here. Otherwise we're going to end up with a bunch of green pods and green tops on these plants. Meanwhile, as you can see, all these pods are rapidly drying off and some of them are even starting to drop in some of the wind and stuff that we get. So we'll have to take care of this here pretty soon. Well, it took a few hours of back-breaking work here, but we did get our small plots done here down by McGrath, so I had Eric come out from the office and help me. We got 16 garbage bags full of wheat heads to process now. Here in this field we have a rather bad case of barley yellow dwarf virus going on in these oats, and it's not terribly surprising in this field because right across the road over there to the south and right over there to the west, this field is bordered by corn. The corn is a host crop to this disease. However, this disease typically does not affect corn, but the aphids which carry it will quite often blow with prevailing winds out of those fields and land in nice young tender oat fields like this one. And that is why we're seeing a very high infection rate in this field. When you get over to the road, you know, right against that corn, you can see it even more. But this patch here is pretty intense. And there's not a whole lot you can do about this. Just kind of to recap last week, this is a viral disease. There is nothing you can spray that will prevent it. The only thing you can really do is spray out aphids. However, aphids being aphids, you're gonna have to spray every couple of days to keep them under control, because once you spray once, you remove all of the beneficial insects which keep their population in check, and you can have a population boom very, very quickly after you spray for them the first time. So I generally do not recommend spraying for them. Also, the inoculation period of this disease can be roughly 2 weeks from the time of infection to when you can see the symptoms presenting themselves like this. So you can have quite a lot of infection and not even know it until it's quite late in order to control those insects. This field of canola is still quite green, but we actually do have some color change going on in these pods. So just pulling open the main stem here, you can see we got some, you know, decent color change. These bottom pods, you can see some mottled color, you know, going halfway up. We're still got some mottled color in here. And once you get up to the tip, we're still green, but the seeds are pretty plump and solid here. So we're really not far away from seeing some really consistent color change in these plants. You know, even though these plants are quite green, obviously seed development is continuing to occur in here. So this field is probably going to start turning really fast. It's probably going to hit a point in the next week here where the plants are going to suddenly start to really look mature and color change is going to happen real fast. So we are potentially about a week away from swath timing, and even though Lygus numbers are pretty high, it may not be worth spraying them out at this point in the crop. Lots and lots of harvesting going on out there this afternoon. Conditions are really good. Crop is dry. Guys are really getting the acres done. So I was just, you know, flying the little drone out there, getting some video so I can do a harvest video for these customers at the end of the season. So hopefully that'll work out good. Checking out a barley field here, you can see we got some patches of lodging going on in this field. We did apply manipulator growth regulator in this field, and I'm just looking at some of the effects here now. So when we applied the manipulator, we were, you know, growth stage 31, 32. So the nodes were just starting to rise up the stem, and what you see from the effect of that is that these nodes here, so there's first node there, second node right there, you know, we're about 3 inches apart on these guys. Then basically we shorten up those nodes, thicken up those nodes, and the plant stands a little bit better. But then after that growth regulator wears off, which is, you know, 10 to 14 days later, then the nodes lengthen out. So that's why you see longer nodes on the rest of these stems. So in comparison to the untreated part of the field, you know, these plants are, you know, about 2 inches shorter and are standing a bit better. But even then, it's still not standing 100%. A lot of these irrigated feedlot fields with heavy manure, almost no matter what you do, you're still going to get some lodging. Well, Friday morning now, and it is a little hazy and cool, really light dew overnight. I'm out at my last set of plots in this wheat field here. So we do have a severe thunderstorm watch for tonight. Combined with a little bit of sawfly damage in this field, we're going to try to take this plot off here this morning as quickly as we can. I'll show you why. So this set of plots does have quite a bit of sawfly in it, so you can see we got quite a bit of lodging down there. So because the crop is not standing up consistently, you can't really use that little mini combine to come in and chop these heads off, because what you end up doing, you come down on the side of the head, you rip the heads off, and then they just end up down on the ground. So what we have to do is basically go into each one of these plots and harvest them by hand, put the heads in a bucket, transfer the bucket to a garbage bag, and then I have the little mini combine set up on a stationary stand that I can feed the heads into to get the grain sample. So that is what we're going to work on this morning. I know I got at least one guy coming to help, hopefully more, because if we learn anything on Wednesday, it's that it takes 2 of us about 4 to 5 hours of work to harvest a set of plots. So the more hands, the better. Well, it took us about 5 hours, but me and Eric and 2 volunteered Hutterites have gotten the plots all harvested, so we got 16 or 17 more bags to go into storage until I have time to process them. And there we go, 36 garbage bags full of wheat heads ready for processing. Probably start working on this next week as soon as I get a chance. Well, that'll be it for this week. Harvest is still going on actively out here this afternoon, although we are due for apparently some quite severe thunderstorms potentially this evening, so we'll have to see how that goes. So join us next week and we'll be looking at more fields as things mature and get harvested, and we'll probably start talking about, you know, some of this kochia and stuff that's out here that we're gonna have to start burning off now that some of these fields are harvested.